And we're live.
All right.
How you been, Brad?
Been good. Hanging out. Been nursing this cold. Man, it feels like I've been sick for like 2 weeks now. Uh,
Oh, you got one of those lingering colds that just
yeah,
you
it's
won't you don't get
awful.
any sicker, but you don't get any better.
Well, it started off like real bad, like real bad. And now it's slowly gotten a lot better, but it's like this cough just will not go away.
Hmm. Yeah, I know. It's been a long. I don't know what happened. I don't know what changed, but I used to get like sick once a year.
Hmm.
But I think ever since since the whole lockdown stuff, um, I've managed to not get sick. I mean, the only time I got sick was the only time that I tested positive for COVID, but it was no big deal. I mean, it was just kind of like it was actually I've had worse flus in the
Yeah.
past than what I experienced with the time that I got sick from that. But
Yeah,
but by
whatever I had this time around, I took a COVID test when it was real bad and it came back negative. But this,
mm,
I mean, this is one of the worst ones I've ever had. So
yeah,
yeah.
the worst one we had, it's actually it rarely do my wife and I get sick together at the same time. But
Hmm.
this must have been. I mean, we were still living in Mexicali, but and I and then when I get sick, usually it's just kind of it's uncomfortable. And what I mean by that is I'm still functioning, doing everything else, but you're dealing with sinus pressure and you know some nagging cough or whatever it is.
Hmm.
But never to the point where I can't get out of bed. And I remember that one particular year, um, I got sick first, and then within a day, my wife got real sick, and we were both laid up in bed for like 2 days.
Yeah.
And finally, by day three, we had enough strength where we drove to the doctors, and they just said we had like a severe case of a flu,
Hmm.
and they just gave us medication or whatever. And within a couple of days, we were better. But it was like a whole week where it's just kind of like body was aching. And like I
Yeah.
said, for 2 days, we really did. We got out of bed, maybe ate like once, and then went right back to just sleeping and trying to get better. But
Hmm.
that's the only time that I can recall as an adult that I've gotten that sick. And then ever since then, it's just kind of been, you know, I would get the seasonal allergies and stuff like that. And, but I don't deal with people anymore. I think
Yeah.
that's the big difference. It's just kind of where I used to, all my jobs have always been like customer service related.
Uh-huh.
So I was always interacting with the public. And it got to the point now where I sit in an office by myself probably about 70% of the time.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even in the office the building we work out of, there's not that many employees that stay in the office. Everybody's out in the field. So
Hmm.
we hardly ever see them. So I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe that's what's kind of contributed to that. And then when I'm off work, I'm not a big go to town kind of guy.
Yeah, neither am I.
Um, I rather just kind of hang out at home and do stuff. So I
Hmm.
guess my exposure's just gotten a lot less than what it used to be in the past.
Yeah, I got the little one still bringing home that stuff from
Yeah,
school. So that
that's the one that'll get you because
yeah,
kids they're like sponges. They pick
uh-huh.
everything up from school or daycare. Hey,
Yeah.
Weldon. Oh, let me get some hellos out of the way.
Yeah.
Um, we got so focused and chit chatting. Well, the first one in here was Huawei. Thank you, Sam, for being here this morning. Thank you for dropping Brandon's link too.
Yeah,
Uh,
apparently Sam's never seen me on a live stream, I guess, which is kind of weird.
uh well, it's I guess it's just because he's kind of also been MIA for a while.
Hmm.
He took a little break for a short time, almost. Damn, what was it like 4 or 5 months? I know I didn't see him most of the summer, and I know he was kind of a little bit disappointed with some stuff, and but I'm glad he's back. He
Yeah.
he he truly was missed. but he's back. He's back in action. And see, we have Jody P. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Stan Pittman, thank you so much. Vanoski, good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. Weldon, Trent, thanks for being here. Hanging out between calls, service calls. Well, thank you so much. Eddie, thank you for dropping in. He drops in with the super sticker. Thank you so much, Eddie. Vibes Aquatics. Ian, good morning. Thank you for being here.
Then you got Ed. I don't know if you saw his.
Oh, that's right.
He said good morning.
That's what I was going to ask you, because I know I was watching. I went back and watched some of your videos. And yeah, and Ed's Aquatic Exotics. I didn't realize he made food. And I know you were talking a little bit about his food, and you were pretty impressed. You want to talk a little bit about it and give him a plug?
Yeah. I mean, that's Ed Motes from Ed's Exotic Aquatics. Actually grown to become pretty good friends. And he does a lot with rare and endangered live bears, mainly the Goodaids. So he's got a website, sells a lot of the fish. But yeah, he's recently gotten into the food game as far as commercially being available. I know he's been making his own food for his fish room for quite some time. But yeah, I got that first sample from him, and that's the omnivore. So it's meant for, kind of a mixture of both, proteins and veggies.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's some solid food. It's good stuff. I mean,
it appeared to be. Is it flake food? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's flake.
Okay.
Yep.
And it looked kind of greenish, so I'm assuming it's got like some sort of spirulina or something like that.
As far as the ingredients, I'd have to run down and grab one of the bags. I don't have those memorized, but yeah, I know it's a mix between, the meats and the veggies, kind of like that omnivore thing.
Yeah, it looked like there were big flakes, which is kind of neat because you can kind of break them down to whatever size you need them, and based on what you're feeding. So
yeah, I like the big flakes because I got I've got some decently large fish. Like my rainbow fish are probably my biggest fish, and yeah, sometimes with the flakes, you get it, and the flakes are so small, and they're just like, I mean, they're decent sized fish. They're 4 or 5 inch fish, and they're cruising around eating little flakes and stuff. So yeah, if I can get some of those bigger flakes in there, they seem to really enjoy that.
Oh, okay.
Rather than have to swim around and eat all those little chunks.
Yeah, no, yeah, I've kind of narrowed down what I feed in my fish room to the like 0.5 pellets and flakes. That's pretty much what I've done it. And I have the flakes just because I can crumble it a little bit more. Like if I have fry that are growing out, and just let it suspend on the top, and hopefully they'll grace off of it. But yeah, but I don't keep very big fish. I don't find the necessity for the big pellets because all my fish are pretty small. Even my angel fish that are a little bit bigger, I still give them those small pellets. So and lately I've been watching Corey's talking about why he made his new food so small, and it kind of makes sense to me. So I guess I was kind of onto the same thing without realizing that was a thing. So
and see, I don't feed a whole awful lot of pellets. I guess I haven't found that right pellet yet. So I've tried some of the extreme pellets, and they're supposed to be slow sinking, and I find they sink as fast as rock. I don't know. I like kind of like the new co-op foods. I have yet to try them, but I want something that's going to stay suspended so my fish have a chance to get it. That seems to be my problem with pellets is they either float so long at the surface that they just never sink, or they sink so fast that the fish don't have a chance to eat them. And rainbows aren't picking up food off the ground. A lot of fish will, but there's so many fish that they need to eat in that water column.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why a lot of people would say that angelfish would not go down and pick pellets off the bottom, but either I got mine used to it since they were fry, but they prefer up at the water column,
Yeah.
what's floating up at the top. But once they run out of those, they're picking the bottom. I mean, I see them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of competing with the Corys at the bottom, trying to pick up some food. But and from well, I don't know if you know Fathom Aquatics.
Mm-hmm.
He was telling me that he tried that new food that Corey's got, that small magic, whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
He says, dude, he goes, I don't know what it is, but how they figured this shit out. He goes, but the food is very interesting because it'll float, it'll come to like mid water column, and it'll kind of suspend itself there.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it catches whatever current you have in there, it'll relift. And he showed me a video, and I was like, dude, that looks like brine shrimp in your water
Yeah.
column. And he's like, yeah. He goes, my fish are really enjoying this. And so I'm really curious now. I want to see uh, how true it really is, especially because I don't
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of water movement, and a lot like all of these are just filterless. They're just kind
Mm-hmm.
of like what LRB has been doing.
Yep.
And so I'm gonna see. I know Mike from what is it, Fish Barn? He also had a little video on it, and yeah, you could see it where it's just kind of basically mid level and top is where you'll have all that suspended for longer than any other food that I see.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we'll see. Maybe
Yeah.
he's onto something there.
Yeah, I definitely got to try those two new foods out because he's got the slightly bigger pellet that kind of acts the same way.
Mm.
I'd
Yeah,
probably be more interested in that, but
yeah. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I know he gets criticized a lot from different people and stuff like that. I just think that I know I've heard arguments that he's just taking an existing product and just doing something, a tweak to it, and trying to make it off his own. But whatever tweak he's doing to it does seem to
yeah,
improve the
I was gonna
product.
say
So
I mean it's hard to create anything genuinely brand new. I mean, there's so many pellets out there and there's so many different fish foods out there. I mean, you almost can't be original anymore. You have to take something that's already there and make it your own and kind of add the tweaks here and there that you want. I mean, that's almost the way you have to do it nowadays.
well, I you can almost relate it to trying to create content in this
Mm-hmm.
hobby because it's so niche. I mean, how many tank setup videos can you do? How many substrate videos can you do that haven't already been done? And yeah, you
Yeah.
can add your own little flair and stuff like that and tweaks here and there, but it's gonna be kind of the same thing. I mean, it's just because we're all keeping glass boxes with water and animals in it, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually the only thing that could be different is the size of the fish. Some people keep like monster fish. Like people like me will keep the small end of the fish.
Yeah.
At that spectrum, and then there's everybody in between. But the systems, at the end of the day, function pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's I guess I mean that's why I've kind of gone about it, just kind of sharing what I've learned from something that I'm trying to do instead of trying to just make a video for the sake of putting something out for the algorithm. Which is, I mean, if well, I've always said if that's what your goal is, then you have to play that game. You have to
Yeah.
constantly be putting stuff out. But it's not that I don't care. It's just I'm gonna do things my way, and
Yep.
if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you know, if the channel grows, fine. If it doesn't, I'm fine with that too.
That's kind of the stance I have. I mean, and this channel is mainly, I mean, my channel, I guess, is to just kind of put myself out there. People can kind of see, I guess, what I'm about, kind of the things I got going on, I guess, currently, and yeah, I mean, I'm not. I mean, I'm no videographer. I'm never gonna make those awesome videos like, Alex from Fathoms. Some of his
Yeah.
videos are out of this world, and
Well,
it's just like
Alex is taking what do you call it? Like movie production quality
Yeah.
to the aquarium. I was like, you fucking asshole.
Yeah. So
You're putting. We're all trying to put the bar just a little. He's going like way up there. It's like, dude, man,
yeah.
you're putting it out of reach. But that's good though. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I really like his videos, because it's like watching a little movie. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like, oh, okay. But then again, that's why he probably just drops a video like once a month or a month and a half. It's just so much editing and trying to get the right shots. And he's always sending me videos of contraptions that he's doing to be able to get these weird angles. And it's like, dude, but that's what he likes. I think the hobby is an excuse to really play around with his passion, which is filming. Okay. I think that's really what Alex loves. But the fish kind of give him the media to be able to do that. And I'm not saying he doesn't like his fish, but I think if you would ask him which of the two is where, I think his working with cameras, trying to create content and videos and shots and all that, I think it's a little bit higher. And but because he likes fish, he's using that as his media. I think if he was like into cars, that would be the thing. Or if he was into whatever, he just happens to really also enjoy aquariums. So, but I think his true passion, if something, like some people say, if I could drive a business selling fish or doing something like that out of this, then that's what they would like to do. I think Alex, if a production company came along and said, hey, we like what you're doing, he'll leave this and go do that instead, because that's really what I think he enjoys, is doing all this editing, taking these very unique perspectives on things. And the best example of that is that aqua clear video that he did.
Hey, yeah.
I was like, dude, that's like a trailer from a movie.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's something I'll never have. All my stuff's gonna be just raw. I mean, low budget. I mean, just fish room footage, I guess.
Yeah, no, thank God for vlogs.
Me. Yeah.
If vlogs wasn't a thing, I don't know if I would have a channel, because that's all I do. I just turn on the camera, start talking, and record. Hopefully you record what I'm trying to record, because sometimes I don't even capture it in the picture what it is that I'm talking about. But it's just, but that's kind of what's also kind of cool, because you get to see other people's skills. It's like there's people here that'll manufacture stuff. That's kind of, or they have that ability to create. And whether it's stands, whether it's doing stuff on 3D printers or all this other stuff, and it's like, oh man, it's kind of cool to watch that too. That's one of the reasons why I like doing this too, because I know that you like fish, and I know that you keep fish, but I also want to know what else you like to do, and that's what this has kind of granted me, that opportunity to get to know the person a little bit more, just besides the videos, So that's kind of one of the main reasons why we brought you on today too. Well, I got a mouse in my pocket. I mean, I brought you on because I know your family is a big part of who you are.
It is, yes.
And you've mentioned it, and you go back and watch some of your videos, especially your little girls. They're like, they're so cute, but I can tell that they're such a big part. I was watching the one where you guys went to the Confluent, and you had one of your daughters was walking around with the camera, and just, Dad's getting heavy, but I can manage it.
Yeah, they wanted to give it a shot.
Yeah, and then you had one video where I don't know which of the two girls is the one that's helping you put fish and do the maintenance in the fish room.
That'd be Willow. That's my 4-year-old. Yep.
Which is really neat, because those are everlasting memories that you guys are creating together, and they might not think of it much now, but as they get older, it'll be one of those things where it's really 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 going to be memorable for them, especially oh, remember when we used to do this with Dad? Let me grab my water. Hold on.
Yeah,
I left it at the other table. Sorry about that.
You're good.
Yeah, so those are some of the things that I was looking. Man, that's kind of cool. But I know that you're doing this, the fish and all this stuff. But how long have you been doing this? Is because I know your channel is relatively new, but your experience does not match your content creation.
Yeah, no. So I kind of went back, and I think I decided to be like roughly 23 years I've been doing this, keeping fish. So that put me at like what 14, I think, is when I started. And I'm not counting the early years when my parents had a tank and I just stare into it. I don't really count that. But when I actively started, being involved in taking care of that first tank that my parents had set up, I think it was like when I was around 14 or so. Um, so yeah, I've been in the hobby a long time, and for the longest time, I didn't know any of this was out there. Kind of everything how I've learned, everything that I have learned has kind of just been, trial and error, just trying things and doing things and seeing what works. Kind of reading stuff on the internet, I guess, but I didn't realize that, YouTube. I've been on YouTube for a while. I think my account's like 13 years old, but I would just hop on here for, like if I had to change something on my car, or, kind of like a quick tutorial on how to do something around the house is basically what I used it for. I didn't realize that it was all this, that people were getting on here and, doing the live streams and hanging out and just all this information as far as the fish keeping side of it was concerned. I didn't realize that it was even a thing. So
Yeah, no. If you, yes, you're kind of in the same boat with me as far as being on YouTube, not being on YouTube, consuming YouTube.
mhm.
My account under my personal name, that account is, I got to go back and see, but I've had that account forever. I forgot who I was telling um that after I used to watch messed up videos on YouTube.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and
uh
that was the other thing too. You'd be on, you'd be surfing the internet and you'd see a funny video and it'd be on YouTube. So you had to have an account, you'd load it up on YouTube, you'd watch it, and then, that'd be it. I had no idea any of this was here. It's kind of mind blowing.
and so yeah, and it wasn't until I think I'm coming up on 3 years, 4 years. I forget it. After a while, it all just kind of meshes together. I was surprised the other day that I was looking at one of my videos, and I could have sworn I had done that like a month ago, and it's like a year old video. And I was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, but I vividly remember that not being that long ago. But time just kind of flies sometimes. It gets out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. I'm looking
Yeah,
at
I
my
don't
phone
even.
because I'm trying to bring up the the chat on the thing because I can't give out wrenches on StreamYard. I have to do it on the actual YouTube, and I'm trying to make sure that I saw a couple of them that came in here and they don't have
Yeah.
them. It's just kind of I like to moderate everybody
Uh-huh.
because it'll allow you to go and explore other people's channels that are in the chat without having to wait for somebody to drop the link. Kind
Yeah,
of that's
I
kind of
like
like for
that
what
too.
Fatherfish does.
Mm-hmm.
And I just find it I really enjoy it. Not that I want to do any moderating, but just the fact that I have the ability to go if I see somebody in the chat that I've never seen before,
Yeah.
I like to be able to go check them out without having
Mm-hmm.
to ask somebody to drop that link or have it copied and paste, um, or even trying to type the name because if their name could appear one way in the chats, but when you go to type it for their channel, because you know how recently they had you put that at and to link your channel, it could be
Yep.
something totally different. I've had that
Mm-hmm.
experience and you just can't find them.
Yeah,
So
and see,
this
I
way,
I, I actually went in and changed mine because my channel name is my name, but then like you said, that it was my name, and then it had like a bunch of little numbers behind it, and I never understood where I got those numbers from, so I just went in, deleted those numbers, so now my is the same as my channel name.
yeah, I think it was just a default number that
Yeah.
that YouTube would provide. I remember I was lucky enough that I read the email and it said that I had the option to use whatever I wanted, or they were gonna automatically default one for you, but you could change it at a later date.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I did that. So yeah, the reason why everybody has a wrench in there is for that, so that you guys can go, if you see somebody that you find interesting, somebody you hadn't seen before, or you're new to the chat, just about almost everybody on here creates content one way or another. So you
Yep.
guys can go check them out. The idea of even doing this is to kind of create a little bit of exposure for those of us that are creating content, so that try to create an audience for everybody. But so when did you decide to start building a fish room, or it just kind of happened by accident, or did you purposely set it up?
Are you talking about what I currently have going
Yeah,
on,
what you
or in the
currently
past?
have going on
What I
now.
currently have going on is just uh, I kind of missed having all the, my breeding, my different breeding projects. So what I mean, I've always had tanks. I've always had at least a tank, but they've always kind of been like, display tanks. So they're planted heavily, um, and they're more for just looking at. I can't, they really serve no other purpose than just being there and enjoying and watching them. So I'm currently renting this house that I have now, so it never really, I've never owned my own space. So the first fish room I had when I lived in Rockford, I ended up leaving pretty much everything there. There was no way I was taking it all with me. Um, so I've kind of been hesitant to accumulate a lot more, like I used to have. But I've I've been at this house for like 6 years now. My youngest, the 4-year-old, she's gotten kind of older now, so I have a little bit more free time. So I decided to kind of start, collecting smaller. My strategy is to keep them on the small end. So I probably nothing over 40 gallons. I got the 165 gallon that I've been lugging back and forth with me for a while now. I do not like moving that tank, but hey. But these tanks, I figure they're, should I ever, because I think I'm gonna be here till I find my own place to buy. So, um, yeah, I missed having all the tank space to work with various projects.
Hmm.
After having gotten on the YouTube and seeing everybody else what they've got going on, it kind of really it really made me want to have at least a slice of that back.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of like at that point where I really haven't decided what exactly it is that my fish room is.
Hmm.
Um, because as much as I would like to breed, I can't leave freaking tanks just. I've tried doing the bare bottoms for breeding purposes and understanding that it is a breeding tank.
Hmm.
And the longest I think I've been able to do that was this time around, and I think it was only like a couple of weeks before I started going, you know what? I'm gonna put some sand in there, and I'm gonna put some plant trimmings, and so that
Hmm.
I can propagate plants and also have fish in there. It never works out because eventually I'll start doing that, and then I want to escape it, and then it goes into becoming a little display tank.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess you could consider these tanks. I mean, obviously these have all been set up for breeding in my eyes. They've all got substrate. I like running a substrate. I think it just makes things easier. I mean, I like it to be, I guess, a little more natural for the fish. I feel it helps them breed a little easier and better, makes them more comfortable. You deal with a lot less issues from my experience, anyways. Um,
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm finding. I think really what kind of sold me on adding substrates to your aquariums is the fact that I can travel.
mhm,
That kind of became a big issue when I was building the fish room, because at first there's always that fear that, oh, what's going to happen if I go away for the weekend, and the fish don't get fed. Um, but the more that I've that I've been around and watched like some of the prolific breeders, and I'm not trying to get to that point, at least not now. I guess
Hmm.
eventually I would, because I don't have the time. That's the other thing that that's a limiting factor is, we have a finite amount of time, and
Yep.
uh, right now I got to work and now I got a family. Obviously, I don't have young kids anymore, but I still have grandkids, and
Hmm.
so you start listening to people that are breeding, and you start hearing common things like, don't don't always gravel back your aquariums, if you have substrate in there, and then you start creating ecosystems within the aquarium, and then you listen to Father Fish and you do the food web and all this stuff that kind of makes sense. And I started trying that out and saying, all right, well, now that I've got a tank pretty much set up from what the people that have been breeding for so long and having success, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to trust in what they're saying, and I'm going to get out of here for a weekend and see what happens. If my fish die, then so be it. I'll be upset, but at least
Hmm.
I'll use that as a learning experience. So tried it that way, came back, and they actually look good. So
Yeah.
then you start pushing the envelope to see how far you can go. And I've gotten
Hmm.
now where with confidence, I can leave for 2 weeks and not have to worry about anything going wrong with my aquariums. Now, granted, I keep fish that are totally different with some of the other communities. I don't have these big, massive fish in my aquariums that might require a little bit more constant attention, whether it's
Hmm.
food intake or waste that they produce. No, my all the what I'm keeping now, I can have like a balanced ecosystem that allows me to do that. But that's just probably because of the fish that I keep.
Yeah. So I've never, I guess the way I breed fish is I like to create a habitat they're comfortable in. I like to create, you know, just a good environment and kind of let them do it themselves. Like I'm never, I don't know. I like to provide what they need, which I guess that kind of is breeding fish in a sense. But like you're saying with the whole bare bottom tanks, I mean, strictly just getting fish in there, breeding them. It's they become a little bit more than that. So that it is more or less a tank, but they as a byproduct of being happy, I also have breeding going on. Is kind of
Yeah,
how I like to set mine up.
yeah, that's why I don't like to say that I'm a breed. I mean, I've had success breeding some fish. Again, that's so. I consider breeders people that will purposely try to trigger the fish to go into a breeding behavior. They'll
Hmm.
capture the eggs and try to hatch them
Yep.
to have the maximum amount of success. I'm more of the period in my hobby right now where if they breed in my aquarium, great. That means that the environment they're in is suitable for them. They're comfortable. Their needs are being met.
Hmm.
Um, but then it gets to a point where if you have a successful uh, batch, well, what do you do with them?
Yeah. Yep.
Especially because I'm not really set up to one feel comfortable about shipping fish.
Hmm.
And the other thing is, I don't have anywhere locally to offload them. We have a small market here as far as a community, but it's so small that I could quickly inundate the market and then just kind of saturate it. And that's it. You're not going to, you might move one batch. And I learned that quickly, like with the angelfish, about
Hmm.
half of that clutch I was able to sell. Everybody that wanted angelfish already has angelfish,
Hmm.
and they're not gonna want more until either they pass or something happens, or a new group of people move into the community. And the reason
Hmm.
I say that is because we have two big military bases within here, so we get a lot of turnover of servicemen coming in, and not a lot of them, but there's always usually a good number of them that are into the hobby. So they
Okay.
usually that's where you get new clients.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of one of the bigger problems. Why I like to learn the behaviors, the breeding process, but I'm not going full bore because what do you do with the fish? I mean, we were
Yeah.
talking about the bristlenose. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it gets to a point now where even if I were to go to Phoenix, everybody's breeding bristlenose. You know,
Yeah.
at one time you couldn't find them. Now the market's saturated. Everybody can successfully do that. And
Mm-hmm.
then most of the other fish that I keep are live bears, which kind of the same situation. So, but I
Yeah.
know we were talking about that. What are some of the stuff that you're currently working on, and why are the reasons that you're doing that?
So I've got the bristle nose, just the common regular plain bristle nose. They breed like crazy. I mean, it's not even a full month and they've already got another hatch, clutch of eggs in there. Those I only pull the cave, so I've got a video on my channel that shows me pulling the cave of one of the more recent spawns. Um, and that's if I already know that I'm gonna be able to get rid of them. Okay, so Tristan is a you know uh I guess a fish retailer that I deal a lot with, and so I'll reach out to him a lot and see if he'd be willing to take him on. I mean we're talking 150 plus bristle nose, and so he said yeah. So I pulled the clutch and I grew him out to about an inch, and then got rid of them. Um, but yeah, other than that, the commons, the tank they're in a community tank. So if I leave the babies slowly, they start getting picked off. There's a lot of bigger fish in there. I've got a couple of Pictus cats in there. One of them's like 7 inches, so he's not afraid to eat fish. Um, which is kind of partly why they're in there is kind
Mhm.
of population control. But yeah, short of that, I mean everything else I don't really have an issue getting rid of. So I've got some of the green dragon bristlenose. They're almost a year old. They're like 10 months at this point. I thought I saw the male fanning eggs, but I don't know. I That hasn't been the case because since then I've seen them out and about. So maybe being their first clutch, they haven't quite figured it out yet. But so eventually, I hope to start getting some babies of those. Those move a little bit easier than just your common bristle nose. The other plecos I'm breeding are the L519s. So I've only gotten one batch out of them since I've had them. Hoping to get more. That first batch, the male actually kicked the eggs out of the cave. So I had to scoop the eggs up. I had to, quick make an egg tumbler, tumbled those for a while. I ended up getting like 9 or 10 babies out of the clutch. They have a lot smaller clutches, so they're, anywhere from 20 to 30. Um, and being that first clutch, I was pretty happy with 10 of them making it.
Mhm.
Um, so I got those growing out right now. Um, I used to breed a lot of guppies. I mean, if you consider breeding guppies breeding fish, they just kind of do it. But yeah,
But
I had to get rid of those because you couldn't around here you just can't really move guppies unless you've got some really high end, strain.
Mhm.
But then it goes back to kind of what you were saying, once everybody that wants that strain kind of has them, that's it. I mean, you kind of gotta offload those and move on to the next one or however you want to do it. So I've actually got a strain of guppies coming in from Ross, Baltimore he's gonna ship them out on the 2nd of December. They're the koi snakeskin guppies. Those are actually really cool. Um, so I'm gonna try my hand at guppies again and see what happens. Um, Hopefully I don't get overrun like last time. Uh, but I've got some Skiffia multipunctata. It's a G'dayid that I got from Ed's Exotic Aquatics behind me. I should start getting some babies out of them here pretty soon. I've got a female that we've since named Large Marge. She should be dropping some fry anytime soon. Um, yeah, I've got the least killifish back here from Curtis, Skill Aquatics. I haven't seen any babies from them yet, but I hopefully start giving me some babies here pretty soon. Those are really fun fish so far.
Yeah.
Watching them eat is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Um,
they're pretty aggressive eaters for such a small
yeah,
fish.
yeah, dropping because I feed a lot of live food, so maybe that I kind of attribute that to a lot of my success in breeding some of these species is just the constant barrage of live food. I feel like that goes a long way. So I do a lot of baby brine and a lot of white worms. So I have a giant like 20-gallon bin whiteworm culture that I can literally just pull out of it all day long and they just never stop. So that's been a nice thing to have. Behind me, I've got the Borellii. I tried posting a video earlier today. It kept uploading as a short. It was pissing me off. But it's I got like a 2-minute clip of some of their breeding behavior. Them kind of some of
Yeah.
the things they do when you can tell they're starting to breed. The tail fanning and showing cichlids are very cool to watch some of the stuff they do while they're breeding. Um, so my goal with them is typically epistogrammas, they like to breed the softer water. It's hard to get them to successfully reproduce in the harder water. So this kind of a little challenge for myself to see if I can't make that happen. Um, then I got some orange eye blue tigers in the tank right here behind me. They're a Cardinia species that can actually live in Neocardinia parameters. Those are
They,
one that go ahead.
with those, they just won't breed, right? If I understand
No,
that correctly.
yeah, no, they'll breed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the tiger shrimp, from my understanding, has always been one of the shrimps that is always in demand.
Hmm.
Um, so a lot of people that keep Cardinia, it's always in the low acidity, low KH, lower G. It's basically the opposite of neo parameters. So getting these and trying to breed them in neo parameters, I think has a big selling point on it. A lot of people like to keep these Cardinia shrimp, but it's kind of a pain, especially if your water doesn't allow it and you got to start doing RO. So I thought this would be a cool thing to kind of add to my stock that would be a pretty good mover once I get them going. And they're really cool to look at. Um, in the tank next to them, I've got the ocean blue Neocardinia. So they're a newer strain of blue Neocardinia. They're actually really pretty. They're probably the bluest blue shrimp that I've seen. So I'm waiting for them to get going, and I'll be able to kind of start getting rid of some of those. Uh, shrimp seem to be my best mover for sure.
Hmm. And are you selling those there locally, or you're actually taking them also to Tristan,
Um,
or
I do sell them locally. I guess word of mouth is kind of starting to get I guess a little bit better. So not a whole lot. But yeah, most of it goes to Tristan. So he takes a lot of my stuff, which makes it easy on me because I don't have to do any of the legwork. I just gotta bring them in and away they go.
Hmm. Now in your area, do you guys have access to like fish clubs, or
The
obviously you have
close.
a local fish store with Tristan, but I mean, is there other what I'm getting at? I know you would have like the customers that know you and come or will get a hold of you to try to buy from you. But then, like for me, one of the things that I like going to the fish clubs is because they have the fish swaps, and
Hmm.
that's usually where I unload stuff that I just haven't been able to move for a while.
Hmm.
And knowing that I'm probably not going to get the price that I'm looking for, but it's going to open up some space
Yep.
for me to do something different. Do you have that advantage too, or not?
I guess the closest club to me would be now the Milwaukee club because the Madison club actually just in the past 2 weeks closed down. They're no longer a club anymore, which is kind of crazy to think about. They did a lot of events like Cataclysm is one of the more known ones, um, events that they put on. But yeah, so now for me it would be the Milwaukee Aquarium Society, which is about 40 minutes to an hour away. So I never really have the time to, I guess, attend club meetings. And as far as doing swaps, I really don't have the time for that either. I like going to swaps, but the amount of work that it takes to I guess set that all up and to be able to sell at the swap, I think is a little bit more than I'm willing to do. Given my situation, just because I've gotten kind of spoiled with Tristan. He treats me well, and I'm really just comfortable kind of, whatever I got and he wants, I just bring it to him, and it's just kind of easier that way.
Yeah. I guess Peplin here is making a recommendation for you that if you ever get a chance to go out to the Quad City swap.
Yeah, I've been wanting to go out to that one. That one seems like it's a lot of fun. Definitely one of the bigger ones that I've noticed for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Down here, well, again, I've got to drive, like 3.5 hours one way or the other to either get to the bigger cities, which would either be Phoenix in Arizona, or I can drive to San Diego in California, which is just,
Hmm.
I literally, if you look on the map, I'm right in the middle of both of them. And so sometimes what dictates where I go is the time of the year.
Hmm.
If it's in the summer, I don't want to go to Phoenix.
Yeah.
'Cause I go from hot to hotter, and it's like, nope, thank you. I'd rather go to San Diego where it's going to be a little bit cooler. They're going to be saying it's hot, but when you leave 114 and you go to 90 degrees, it's a big difference. It's
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's, it's cooler. So I'll try to hit some of the club meetings up there and do some of the swaps, but I don't if I get to go to maybe 3 meetings a year out of either club, it's a lot. It's just
Hmm.
because a lot of driving, and I try to
Yeah.
usually I'll do it all in one day. So
Hmm.
what that looks like is I'll leave here around 6 in the morning, um, get into the city around you know 9:45, 10 o'clock, depending on traffic. Uh, and then I'll try to maximize the time that I'm there because I'm not just driving up there for the club meeting, but I'll try to hit up a store, a local store, or somebody that has you know uh, a fish room that they're breeding out of or whatever, and I'll try to take advantage and make a video of the drive up there so that
Hmm.
now it becomes like a full day thing for me. So I'll be able to do that. And then from there, attend the meeting. Meetings are usually about, you know, 2 to 3 hours, depending on what's going on, and then turn around and drive back. So it makes for a really long day. That's why
Yeah.
I don't regularly do it. Because if I go up and spend the night, then it just becomes really expensive.
Yep.
Because you're not
Yep.
going to find anywhere to stay up in, especially San Diego. You're lucky if you can get something under $200 for the night on
Hmm.
a weekend during the summer. That's crazy. That's not going to
Yeah.
happen. I know Plumpin was saying something here. Uh, something about if near. Oh, LFS is near Madison, not including Tristan. He was saying. Yeah, here you
Uh,
go. Somebody
yeah.
else that has to travel.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't been to too many local fish fairs, I guess in and around the Madison area. Um, yeah, I couldn't tell you if I had a favorite or not. I hear there's a lot of good ones, especially it's the one up near Green Bay I eventually want to get to, Advanced Aquarium Systems. I think that one I follow them on Facebook, and they've got it going on as far as their selection and stuff like that. Eventually I want to make it into that one.
Let me see. I know a couple of people have come in. Let me make sure I
Yeah.
get them squared away. There you go. Make sure they get a wrench so they can access anybody's channel if they're curious about them. Yeah, no, I know you guys have recently you guys have starting to develop quite the community, especially like YouTube people,
Hmm.
fish fam as we like to call it. Because I guess Jeff is relatively local. Jeff Kane, um, Roxy and Brian are relatively local, and who else was up there in that area? I know you are, but there was somebody
Jake
else.
Jake and Katie.
Oh, that's right, Jake and Katie.
Yeah.
So uh, it's kind of cool that they did this summer where they had that get together at Brian and Roxy's place.
Hmm.
Maybe that becomes like an unofficial fish event.
That would be cool. Yeah, I didn't get to go to that last one because I was kind of right as that was going on is when I kind of got into the whole YouTube thing, so I didn't really know, anyone or much about it. So I hope there's talks about them maybe doing it this upcoming year, but I know they got a wedding that they're kind of trying to save some money for, and it takes a lot to put that on.
Well, we can solve that real easy. Brian, don't do it. Run,
Yeah.
run, Brian. You can save yourself a lot of money. No, I'm just joking. I know Roxy, I was giving her a hard time the other day. But no, it's that well, maybe it's a fish fam wedding. Instead of a reception, it becomes a fish swap.
Hmm.
But no, yeah, it's just I wish I had access to more people. Out here in Yuma, there's my friend Laro, and she kind of started posting some stuff, um but she only I've talked to her about it if she wanted to do like a full blown channel, but she just wants to, and I get it. It's not for everybody. Um, she'll just do like little updates here and there. And
Hmm.
then, but other than that, there's nobody else, at least within the fish community, that is doing this. There's a lot of guys that go out fishing because we have a bunch of reservoirs and the Colorado River running through here.
Hmm.
So interestingly enough, there's a lot of fishermen or fisher people because there's ladies too, and that have channels, and I didn't realize how big they were. I was one day, who was it? There was somebody here locally that I started following, and that kind of led me down that rabbit hole. But I didn't realize how big the sport of fishing is in this area. There was people that were coming down from your guys' neck of the woods up in northern part of the country just to come down here and fish off the Colorado River. So I was like,
Hmm.
whoa, okay, that's interesting. I guess they have a real big bass tournament down here that I had no clue. I mean, that's never really been my scene. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I enjoy fishing. I did it during high school and stuff like that, but it was just the excuse to be able to bring out the ice chest more than it was more how many cans were empty on the ground and not how many fish were in the ice chest at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but
another one in Wisconsin, before I forget, is actually going to be one of your upcoming guests, Adam, from
oh yeah,
Patty's.
oh that's right,
Yeah, he's another one.
yeah. Well, that's not official yet, so I'm waiting on his response. Oh, actually,
Oh,
you're
okay.
the one that's putting a wrench in that whole thing. You got to get up
Yeah.
early that day so he can make it there early and get back in time for.
Hey, I told him if he had to reschedule, that's fine. So
No, no, no,
it's not
no.
on
I can.
me.
It's a lot easier for me to reschedule than it is for he's got his time, and
Uh-huh.
uh that's why I try to work with people's schedules because I have a little bit more flexibility. I know it's a downside to trying to become like a content creator or live streamer that you don't have a fixed time because people like to have a routine,
Hmm.
or they know that, oh, at this time I can go watch so and so. I don't have that luxury right now. That's not saying that based on what happens at work, I might be able to get in that situation, but at the same time, I kind of like not being restricted. And
Yeah.
that's
No,
really, really selfish of me
I
uh,
feel you on that.
because it allows me access to a lot more people that I think if it was only like at a certain day at a certain time, it would make it more difficult to be able to coincide.
Hmm.
Um, I think the way I've kind of been doing it now, if you were like you that were available this morning, then we could just do it this morning.
Yeah.
And especially if I want to start talking to people outside of the country where they're in a different time zone, where it could be early in the morning for me, it might be in the afternoon for them, which is more, easier for them to do it versus if I just try to do it in the evening, it might be like
Hmm.
3 o'clock in the morning for them, and
Yeah.
it just wouldn't
Or
work out.
even in some instances, like if you wanted to get somebody from New Zealand, that they're a whole day ahead. You
Hmm.
know, you're talking they're
Yeah, but
streaming a
a whole
different
24
day.
hours is a little bit easier to deal because it could be 3 o'clock here on
Yeah.
Saturday and it could be 3 o'clock over there on Sunday. That doesn't really, it's more where, like with Craig, where
Hmm.
it's morning here and it's night over there, or vice versa. That's where it gets a little bit trickier. And I think
Yeah.
being able to have that flexibility,
Hmm.
um, to kind of adapt to that and it's really because of my work schedule. Um,
Yeah.
it's kind of I've kind of liked it, and
Yep.
I've always done this with the idea that if you really want to watch, you can watch the replay. That's why
Yep. Yep.
they're recorded and they're posted on there. And the reason I say that is because a lot of the times I consume a lot of live streams on the replay when I'm doing
That's me
something, whether
too.
it's working here in the fish room, or whether it's working on a project, or
Hmm.
going outside and raking up leaves or whatever. I'll just pop in my earbuds and be able to listen to it. And I like live streams for that fact because you're not really trying to show somebody something where you want to be watching, because I'm a
Yep.
visual learner. I have to see you do whatever it is you're doing for me to understand it and grasp it. Whereas this is just a conversation, and
Hmm.
for all intended purposes, it could just be completely audio, and the point would still come across, for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like as a I'm not doing these interviews like you, but if I was, I would feel like the schedule that you have going now, kind of, whenever you can, would help me to do it more often than having the set time. Having the set time to me, that would feel like more of, like a second job, and like just I think being able to do it when it's convenient for both parties is a huge bonus.
Yeah. And I know some people, it frustrates some people. So I'm reading Whip's comment that they like to be able to, because I understand it, because for me the appeal of a live stream is not only getting to listen to the conversation, but a lot of the times is the chat, the conversations that are going in the chat, which especially with mine, because I'm very bad at acknowledging or reading this stuff, and it's not because I don't want to do it; it's because I get sidetracked so easily, even just in conversation. That if I get caught up reading, which I'm doing now, and I shouldn't be
Hmm.
doing, but I'll just lose focus, but I understand that that's big part of what people really enjoy is when they come to a live stream, to be able to interact with other people, ask questions, and a lot of times questions will get answered in the chat before you know I even get to it. That's if I notice the question or not. So
Hmm.
yeah, I get it, but you know, uh, especially for somebody that is, I guess, a little bit newer to the hobby, that's still learning, and they have a lot of questions. But for the most part, almost of us that are here, at least especially in my live streams, are people that have been doing this for quite some time. If anything, I learn more from them than they'll ever learn from me.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, no. Now with the stuff that you're doing there, obviously you're breeding and you're trying to do that. Are you doing any shipping? Is that something you're interested in doing, or are you?
Yeah, I've been trying to get into the shipping. So I feel 100% comfortable shipping plants. I got that down pat. The fish is still kind of iffy. Um, just because I don't know. If I do start shipping, it's obviously not going to be now. I don't like the cold temps. It probably won't be in the heat of summer. I don't like the real hot temps. So when I start kind of conditioning myself to shipping fish, uh, it's going to be during the easy months where you don't need a heat pack, you don't need a cool pack. Um, but yeah, I had actually one morning I was talking to Tristan, and I went in and he actually showed me the exact process that he does shipping his fish, and he ships a lot of fish. So I there's no doubt in my mind that what he's doing is working.
Yeah.
So I that was a huge help as far as just kind of being comfortable doing it. seeing how somebody else does it, like one on one, that helped a lot. So yeah, I don't really have any fears of shipping. It's kind of all in the hands of the, I guess, who is doing the physical shipping. That's something you can't control.
Yeah, one of the things that I've learned is that um, you have to learn the shipping windows
Hmm.
that are gonna grant you the highest probability of having success. Like you guys are up in the north, you guys have to deal with the cold.
Yep.
Um, Not so much such a big deal for me if I was to stay in the southern states, but it is a big issue if you're trying to go north. For me, the biggest problem is the summers. Trying to find that time of the year where the fish are not going to cook in the box before they get out of here. Because
Hmm.
where if I'm in the summer down here trying to ship to you, it might be where the temperatures might be a little bit more ideal to receive fish. But by the time they get out of here, you're going to get fish soup.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's not, so it does let. I've tried it. I've kind of pushed the envelopes on both ends of it,
hmm
and I was having some success. I was having luck, but recently I learned that you can't get too cocky when it comes to fishing because I mean fishing shipping because it'll turn around and bite you in the rear just when you
yeah.
think you've got it figured out.
Hmm.
And but yeah, and then the other thing that for me is the cost. I haven't been able to figure out
Yep.
where it becomes um reasonable, I guess, where you're not.
Yeah, and that's the hard sell point on most, to ship some fish. It's like, yeah, I can ship you fish all day long, but at the end of the day, it's gonna at least cost you $25 to ship, just a medium priority box. I mean and it's a big chunk of money. I mean it really is. And you know, the it I guess it's hard to sell in smaller quantities when you're paying that much for shipping.
Yeah. Yeah, I look at it as like, well, yeah, the fish are great. They're gonna cost me, $3 or $4 each, but it's gonna cost me more to get them to me than it is to and
Hmm.
so that's always been kind of why I kind of hesitate on doing that. Especially, I guess if you had like some of the bristles or some of the plecos that you have that are a little bit more sought after, that makes sense to ship,
Yep.
in my opinion. But what I
Yeah,
have is just live bears,
the the shrimp are easy too, just
Yeah,
because they're a lot more temperature tolerant. Um, they don't use as much oxygen as a fish would. They're tiny. Um, I feel like when I do start shipping livestock, it'll be the shrimp, uh, more so than probably the fish. You don't, you can almost send fit or shrimp, uh, kind of just regular postage too, and save on the shipping, just because they can go a lot longer in a bag than a fish could.
I found that neocaradinas are
Hmm.
a lot sturdier than people give them credit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
I call them my little roaches, because what's I guess the biggest if you let your ammonia spike, that's when they usually have issues. But like all this babying of trying to acclimatize them, I've never found that to be a big problem with mine. But I've never really bought
Hmm.
shrimp from somebody that's in the
Yeah.
northern east corner of the country either. So most of the stuff
And
that I've gotten is here locally.
yeah, and if you want my honest opinion about the neocardinas, I don't think acclimation, as far as like drip acclimation and stuff like that, is really an issue, just because that the Neocaridina are all kept in such similar conditions that chances are wherever you're getting them from, um, it's gonna be more or less the same water that you have that you're gonna be putting them into.
Yeah.
You start getting into the Caridinas, the parameters vary, can vary a lot between the different species of the Caridina. So that's where I think the kind of the acclimations and stuff are a lot more important as far as the shrimp go. Because it's like these Neocardina behind me, I forget where they came from. They came from Max Aquatics. I forget where he's located. Um, but just ahead of time, it never hurts to ask the parameters they're coming from. And so I asked, and he told me, and I mean, it's like halfway across the country, spot on with my parameters that are coming out of my tap. So I had no issue just making sure the temp was okay. I mean, I do think the temp is important. You don't want to throw, a 80-degree acclimated shrimp into a 60-degree, water that you're probably going to have issues. But as long as the temp's right on with Neos, I think you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, they've been, and I guess people don't really give them as much credit as, as they deserve because I keep them with just about all my fish. You know,
Yeah. Yep.
I've got them. Obviously, if you're trying to breed them, don't do what I do because you're not going to have the population growth that you would want to be able to sell them. But if you're just keeping them, you can keep them in a community tank. Just
Yeah.
provide them somewhere to hide out, and
Yep.
your numbers will stay constant. I mean, you're never going to see this explosion of shrimp, but you're never going to see them all disappear. I mean,
Hmm. Yeah. I've
so
got 21 tanks currently up and running, and every one of them has shrimp in it.
yeah, a lot of them will have coals too because you got to have somewhere to put them. So uh,
Yeah. A lot of them are just, culls that have then started breeding in the tanks. So
well, it's
yeah,
interesting. At
even
one point, I was
my little puffer fish, little pea puffer, he gets along with shrimp. I mean, does he eat some here and there? I'm sure he does. But yeah, I mean, I've got a little coal colony growing in that tank, so it's
yeah, no, I've figured out that the tank with the angelfish is definitely my if I need to dispose them. But originally, that's what it started out. I put them in a tank with bigger fish, thinking, all right, well, if they get eaten, it's no big deal.
Mhm.
But then I would look in there, a few weeks down the road, and all of a sudden I'm seeing more of them. It's like,
Yep.
okay. And but they'll expand to a point where I guess they just can't hide out. And those are the ones that get picked off, and the ones that hide out continue to reproduce. But
Hmm.
I don't know how long that cycle will go for, but it's not uncommon. Just when I think I don't have any more shrimp in a tank, and I'll start messing around with it, and here they come out. It's kind of
Yep.
like, oh, okay, you guys were just hiding.
Yeah,
Um,
as long as you got some type of structure, man, they find a way.
yeah,
Like
that and
you,
plants.
yep.
Plants, I see them, hanging out in plants, and they'll stay there, and the fish won't really mess with them.
Hmm.
Um,
And
so
if you've ever seen a shrimp actively try and get away from something, they're actually pretty quick too. I mean,
yeah,
they don't mess
they'll bend
around.
in half and just they'll shoot right across the
Yeah.
water. And so yeah, it's just they're the only reason they get picked off is if they get caught not paying
Hmm.
attention.
Yep.
But if because I even seen them swim, brazen in front of the fish, just kind of like taunting them, and it's kind of like, oh, you really have a little set on you, buddy, because that fish could really scoop you up real quick. And no, they
Uh-huh.
never do. So if they get caught, it's because they're not paying attention. They were doing something else.
Yeah.
Mm, let's see. Uh, so with the obviously you're in a situation now where it's not necessarily permanent, but
Hmm.
um, few years down the road, what is your ultimate goal? What are you trying to accomplish? Not only with your business, but with your channel. Are they something you're working on in conjunction, or what's the situation there?
Yeah, kind of. I guess, the YouTube platform, I guess, is a good way to kind of get yourself out there and get yourself known. I don't want to do, anything too crazy. I love fish. I like breeding them. And I like sharing them. So, it's a good platform be it for people to be able to see what I have. And then if somebody wants something, usually if I have the means, I'm more than happy to help somebody out. And I think that's really cool. Because for a long time I didn't have access to really anything locally. If I wanted something special, it'd be ordering it online, getting it shipped. And then I found Tristan's, and it's been great. So
So he's the
Yeah,
one
I
that
don't.
helps you get a hold of stuff that maybe you can't find elsewhere. He's kind of like your go-to person
Yeah, yep, yep,
that's nice.
yeah,
Yeah, because the other thing would be, and we were kind of talking about this last night on Elsfish live stream, but it avoids you having to set up uh, your own official business where you have to get your EIN and all that stuff to be able to buy wholesale. So it's good to be able to have that kind of working relationship with
yeah.
the business that's already established.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you got any exciting projects coming up that you'd want to share with the community or
Not really. I've got let's see, I've got 14 more tanks that I have to set up eventually. Um, oh, or no, 11, how many? 14, yeah. 13 of them being more 10 gallons, like what's behind me. Something that's going to be easy to move when I have to move them. So these, I mean, I'm fully comfortable just draining them down to a couple inches of water, picking them up and moving them. I mean, these 10 gallons ain't nothing. But I got a 29 gallon that eventually I'm going to be putting some Iliodon furcidins. Those are some trout good aids. They should be breeding for me anytime here. I'd like to get them set up in their own tank. They're currently where the rainbow shiners are that I'm hooking Adam up with.
oh okay.
Uh, they're kind of coexisting together right now, which they're doing pretty good together. Got a blue shrimp colony in there that's doing okay. But yeah, right now they're just in like a tub, so I'd like to get them in their own tank eventually, in an actual tank. But yeah, other than that, I mean, just kind of filling out these tanks with fish that are for me, um, makes sense to breed. I've never been one to play with water chemistry.
Mm.
I've always kept things that can, like, if I'm gonna breed something, I'm not changing the water. That's kind of the experiment I'm doing with the Barella behind me, seeing if I can get them to breed in the hard water. Honestly, I think most fish, with the exception of some extreme cases, I think with a little bit of patience and time, getting them to breed in hard water parameters shouldn't be an issue. So kind of working with that, just breeding some things that I haven't bred before, just because on paper my water shouldn't is it's not ideal, but trying to, and I think that's another good selling point as far as trying to move fish, is if you can get something that on paper isn't supposed to be breeding in your water parameters, but yet you can do it, and those fish are kind of already conditioned to those parameters, makes it a little bit easier in my opinion.
Are you set up in a way where you can kind of show us what you have in the tanks or
Yeah, I could.
all right,
Yeah,
well, you mind kind of taking us around? Let me take
yeah,
a quick
let's
break
see.
while you do that real quick.
Yeah. Oh, all right, here we go. I'm trying to figure this out. Okay. Now, so this tank right here, there is, I don't know if you guys can see, but that is my male green dragon bristlenose. So as you can see, he's not in his cave anymore. So I don't know what happened with the eggs I thought he was gonna have
All right.
going here soon.
Let
Uh
me let me get you on the big screen
yeah.
so that let's see.
I don't know if it's easier for me to do it
There
like
you go.
this.
Why is it not doing that? Go solo? No, not me. All right. It's been so long that I forgot how to do this. How is that possible?
Hmm. I've never done it, so I can't help you.
There you go.
There we go.
There
So
you
yeah,
go.
that's the male bristlenose there. There's a couple of little guppies swimming around in here just to kind of act as dithers. Plecos typically like to have something above them. from what I find anyways. So there's a couple of random guppies in here. But yeah, just basic. I mean, it's got the one cave, a couple of plants, piece of wood, some moss, anything in here. I've got no issues just pulling out and moving around. So I'm trying to keep these tanks that way to the very minimal. If I have to get in here and rip everything out to catch stuff, not a big deal.
Yeah, I was
But these,
noticing what the plants in the pot. How big are these?
yeah,
Are these 10 gallons?
yeah, these are all 10 gallons. So these are those ocean blue neocardenia. Um,
Yeah,
so
they're usually up there on the
yeah,
on
there's
the
quite a
hornwork.
few hiding up there. Um, but yeah, they're really pretty blue. Over here is the orange eye blue tigers. They're kind of a more elusive. You can kind of see one hanging out up there, right where that glare is.
And those are the Caridina, right?
Yeah, these are the Caridina. So these are really cool. I really like the orange eyes on them. They're really neat. Um, yeah, none of them in the front of the glass right now. Like I said, they've been more elusive than the Neos. The Neos are out and about always, but these guys typically you only see them when I drop food in there.
Mm.
So this is over here, a little bit darker water for the Epistos. One of the few tanks that I actually have a heater in. I don't run heaters, so in this room it stays about 72 degrees, give or take. So these tanks are usually running right around 70. But yeah, you can kind of see them right there. So I got the Ember Tetras in there as dithers. Let's see, that's where'd she go?
Yeah,
So the
she darted
males,
to the back.
yeah, okay, yeah. So that's the female over there, and then the male's currently in front of the coconut cave there. You can barely see him. Um, but yeah, I've been getting some really good breeding activity, like kind of courtship out of them. So I'm hoping soon that I'll have some eggs out of these guys. If they haven't already, I'm not sure. Typically the female would be a little bit closer to the cave if that were the case. So I haven't done much with the pistogrammas, so that this is kind of all new for me with the epistos.
So the female, once the eggs get laid, she abandons the nest. Is she the one that leaves, or is it the male that leaves?
Yeah, she'll kick the male out.
Okay,
Ideally the male patrols the area, and then the female will heavily guard the eggs.
yeah, because I don't know if it's with all pistol species, but if there's no hiding place for the male, she'll beat him up pretty bad, won't she?
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
so he's got plenty of room to hide back there in that wood, and then
yeah,
there's a big area back there where he can kind of escape. Um, Wrap around here. I gotta dodge around cords and stuff. So this is the killifish. I don't know how well these guys are gonna show up on camera. They're so small.
yeah. They're hard to even take pictures of. I have some
Yeah,
too.
so you can see them blurry, I
Yeah,
guess. There's one back there, kind of you can see him clearly, but there ended up being uh Skull sent Curtis. He sent all that Christmas moss in the back with these guys, and must have had some red cherry shrimp that hitchhiked in here because now I'm starting to see shrimp pop up in this tank. Real bright red shrimp. Um,
oh, okay.
a couple of plecos. So all the little bristlenose that I have, I spread them out kind of throughout my tanks. A lot of them just to kind of when they're young, they're some algae hogs. They love eating on that algae. So they keep the tank walls pretty clean. Over here is the Scyphia multipunctata.
Oh, the Gadaeids.
Yep, the Gadaeids. Um,
Is it Gadaeids or Goodeids?
Goodeids, Gadaeids. I mean, the
Oh,
way
okay.
it's spelled, you would pronounce it Gadaeids, just because the E comes before the I. But But yeah, you can see,
it's another one of those beta or beta.
yeah, yeah, you can see the male. He's kind of got that half yellow. There's large Marge right there actually picking at
uh,
that plant. So she's definitely got some babies in her.
Now these guys, unlike their typical live bears, how many fry do they normally drop? Like about 10 or so, or
Yeah, it's not. It's a lot more manageable. Obviously, the bigger they are, the more fry they're gonna drop. The younger they are, the less. But yeah, they're not as prolific. That's for sure. And these are the guys that have the umbilical cord. So any of the Gadade species, I believe I think there's two or three that actually lay eggs, but most of them are live bearing.
yeah. And these, when the fry are born, they actually still have the umbilical cord attached, or that's
I
only when they're in the in the female.
Yeah, I believe they break off as soon as they come out. I mean, it might be attached for a second or so, but I'm pretty sure it comes off pretty right away.
Oh, okay.
Said I haven't yet. This is kind of my first run with Gadade, so I'm interested to see that whole process. But yeah, these guys are really neat. You can see that male right there. He's kind of dancing for one of the females. He was dancing there for a second.
Yeah, I'd really like to have some of those, but until I fix my temperature in the garage, I'm not gonna even try to mess with them.
Hmm.
Those are fish you really don't want to be losing.
Yeah. And then next door, I've got kind of this has got a yellow shrimp population in them. That one's obviously not too flashy, but there's some bright yellow on that coconut hut. You can see them. Um,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, there's a yellow shrimp colony in here. I got that. You can see that white thing moving across there. That's a giant
How
mystery
long have you
snail
had
that I got.
those?
What's that?
The yellow ones, the yellow
The
shrimp.
yellow shrimp. Everything in these tanks is pretty much, not that old. So maybe
Okay.
3 weeks at the most.
Yeah, because I was going to see if you were, because I know I had gotten a group of six, and
Hmm.
for some reason it seemed like the yellows were throwing out a lot more coals. It was really
Okay.
hard to really get yellow shrimp from them.
Hmm.
It could have just been a bad line, but I was like,
Yeah.
man, I out of a, say, a clutch or whatever, if I got maybe 20% to actually be colored up, but it seemed
Hmm.
like it was nothing but coals.
So yeah, since I came up here and I knew I was going to be up here for a while, I got a fan in here that I kicked on, so it kind of brought the tank temps down a little bit. But yeah, right now they're sitting at like 69. Usually they're like right at 70, with no heaters. Obviously the ones that are closer to the heated tank are a little bit warmer, but and then this little breeder box is where all the little plecos are, the ones that I don't have in tanks yet. So they're kind of run and hide. But yeah,
Now,
there's
when it
go
comes
ahead.
time for you to pull plecos to sell, are
Hmm.
you, how difficult is that becoming for you? Is it something where you got to tear down the entire tanks to get them out of there, or you have a specific tank for the ones you're gonna sell?
Yeah, so they'll be going in this tank right here. Yep.
Okay,
Once they're I like to keep them in there while they're kind of small, just so I can keep an eye on them.
be
But
able to
yeah,
feed them properly.
yeah, eventually they'll be all going into here. So yeah, this has got there's that giant mystery snow. Um, this has got a female guppy in it somewhere. I don't know where she went, but she's just kind of hanging out. Um, I had those two guppies in the green dragon tank, and then the female in here were the last three that I couldn't catch out of my pond from my original guppies that I got rid of.
No, okay.
And then those are the tanks up here. I mean, if you want, I can take you downstairs to more of the display tanks, or I don't know how much
Sure. No.
time you. Okay.
I'm on your schedule. You tell me.
Okay.
No. So
Yeah,
how
we
many
can
tanks total do you have?
go. Seven up here set up. And I've got, let's see here, one, two, three, four, five, six, 7, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, like 12,
You sound
12
like me. How many
downstairs.
tanks do you have?
Yeah.
Let me see. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. A
Yeah.
lot. More than my wife would care for me to have.
All right, so this little tank here, this has got, let's see if we can see him. So there's a little stifling goby back there on that
Oh,
Nubius.
are you trying to breed those, or is just? Oh, these are just your
No,
display tanks, right?
yeah, yep. So this is just one. It's got the stifling goby, and then there's a scarlet batis. There's a scarlet batis in here somewhere. You typically only get to see it when I feed white worms. This is one that I have to feed live foods. So there's also a coal shrimp colony going in here. So my hopes with that was that when I'm not here, um, I can actually rely on the coal shrimp to feed that batis uh, while while I'm not able to feed it.
No, okay.
But yeah, it's a pretty elusive little fish. Over here I've got, this is the beta tank, this rainbow. This is my youngest fish. Let's see if I can get him. There he is.
And these are also all 10-gallon tanks.
No, these are actually 2.5 gallons.
Oh wow, a little bit smaller. Okay.
Yep. Yep. These are a little bit smaller. So they're all three right here in a line. Yeah, that's the beta tank there. This has got a couple of guppies, and this is where the pea
Oh,
puffer is.
what
You can
guppies are those?
see him in the back. It's fast.
Yeah, I
There
see
he
them
is.
in the back,
Yep.
hovering like a little
Those,
helicopter.
yeah, there he is right there. So these are just regular, I don't know, just mutt guppies. They're in a uh,
They have really nice
specific
tails
strain.
on them,
Yeah, yeah, nice delta tails.
and the pea puffer won't nip at them either. That's what's
Mm,
impressive.
yep, he hasn't nipped them once. And they've been in this tank for at least 6 months now. This is how long I've had the puffer. Again, there's a bunch of shrimp living in here. I keep him well fed on snails. He's another one where it's live food only,
Mm.
live or frozen, I guess. And then um, I don't have the lights on for this
Oh,
pond.
for your little pond.
Let me hop on my Casa here and turn it on.
Yeah, no problem. Jeff's saying that he still needs a group of pea puffers. Jeff, you ought to talk to Funk. He doesn't like them. These things are boring. So maybe you guys can switch some stuff up there.
Yes, we're on now. I notice my camera's getting kind of fuzzy. How's it looking for you guys?
It's okay. It's not bad. You can
Yeah.
see what's in there.
Yeah. So there actually is really nothing in here. I mean I've
Just plants.
yeah, just plants and then a ton of shrimp. A ton of
Oh,
shrimp
okay.
and
Well,
snails in
there is
here.
stuff there then.
Yeah. So this is where a lot of time where my culls will go. They'll just kind of go in this pond.
Ever pulled out anything interesting out of there? You go like, what the hell? I didn't have any purple shrimp.
No, not yet. No purples, but yeah, you get some interesting colors out of here. Um, Definitely.
That's like a 20-gallon tote or like the
Yeah,
ice
it's like
chest. Yeah, I have one of those
yeah,
too.
it's like 23-gallon, just like muck bucket,
Yep.
Menard special.
They're nice and handy.
Yeah. So this is the tub I was talking about earlier. I don't know why my connection is glitching out now, but this has got the rainbow shiners. So there's the school of rainbow shiners right there. And then the troglodytes. There's one hiding under that bag right there. Um, so yeah, a lot of dwarf sage in here. The lotus, big
See
old
that
sponge.
that's the one thing that I think we need to share more often is the fact that it doesn't always have to be in a glass box. Because
Yeah,
I know
yeah, it's
some
just
people
a tub.
will not start up an aquarium because I can't afford an aquarium, but more than likely you can find a spare plastic tote somewhere laying around that you could
Mm-hmm.
use temporarily until you can get an aquarium or permanently. There's nothing wrong with these things. I've
Yeah.
got a few of them on the floor that
Mm-hmm.
they've been there for a couple years now.
Yeah, I mean, looking through it, it kind of looks cloudy, but if you go from up top, I mean, that shit's crystal,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I just like the fact that this is a way to show people that they don't have to miss out on the hobby just because they can't get a glass box. That's really what my point is with this.
Yeah,
If
yeah. No,
you
this
really want to keep
this tub cost me $6, and I had this sponge and filter laying around.
yeah. So if you really want to get into the hobby, don't let money be a factor. You can get pretty creative. You can, this is a tote. I've seen people do it like in styrofoam ice chest or even empty container boxes. One place that I found out if I wanted to get styrofoam boxes, if you go back to one of the dumpsters at the big box stores and you know what day they deliver fish, you're gonna see those styrofoam
Mm.
boxes in the back.
Yeah, but yeah,
And
on that sponge, there's a big old mano shrimp. I don't know if you can see it back there.
yeah, on the side.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah.
just throw those.
This was kind of my first tote tank. You know, like I said, like you're kind of saying, I've seen people do it before, and I was just kind of like, you know what? I'm just gonna set one up and see how it goes, and it ain't no different.
No, it's technically an acrylic.
Yeah, I guess. And then these are a couple of jars that I got with a couple of guppies in them. Um, so these just kind of sit and don't really do anything. They got no air, no filter, nothing. Kind of just jar, and whatever happens happens. Occasionally I'll throw some food in here for these guys, but other than that, they pretty much just eat whatever pops up in here.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. If you can establish a little ecosystem, you
Yeah.
almost don't even have to feed.
Hmm. So that's kind of what these two jars are, just kind of like a little experiments to see like how little I could do and have things live, and
Well,
they seem happy. I mean,
those are fun because it's you learn a lot,
yeah.
because especially because they're small. If it's gonna crash, it's gonna crash quick. But
Hmm.
I found that they're pretty stable unless you do something drastic to them. They're pretty stable and they're self-sustaining. That's what I've really
Yeah.
enjoyed about. I used to have a what was it, a 1 gallon plastic container that I set up something similar to that, and it thrived. As a matter of fact, it was kind of cool because you could see the Tridus worms starting to build in there, and
Hmm.
you see all these different life forms you don't normally get to see in a regular aquarium. I don't know
Yeah.
why. I don't know if it's because it's a smaller vessel that there's less for them to hide in, and you get to see a lot of that what's going on.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this one here is a gallon. This one over here is 2 gallons. So yeah, pretty neat. One gravel, one sand. I just wanted to see what worked better. I honestly haven't noticed a difference.
They both work the same, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've kind of
Um,
learned over time. It just really becomes one of those, well, how much money do you really want to spend? Kind of,
uh-huh.
or how, not, I don't even, well, it's not even, I don't even think how much money is really the right word. How impatient are you? Because that's all you're
Yeah.
doing when you buy these other types of substrates is because you don't have the patience for it to let it do its own thing.
Mm-hmm. So this is currently it's got all my black mollies that are growing out. Um, so I take them. I mean, I've got, little guys like those guys up at top. Just a little tiny guy swimming around. You can see him. To medium, getting bigger. About when they get to the size of him is when they start kind of coming out of here. Um, Getting a little bit too big, I guess.
No, okay.
But I've got, so you can see one of my L519s right there in the cave. There's one of his offspring right there on the glass. So this is currently where I have my L519 colony. It'd be really cool if he was fanning some eggs right now, but I've got two bigger females in here and then the offspring. So there's like 10 or so offspring in here. Eventually are going to get their own tank. Um, I feel like the breeding has kind of stopped just because of how crowded this tank's become
Yeah,
between
they
um
self-regulated.
well, just between all the other inhabitants in there, given the mollies, and then I've got a massive colony of green jade shrimp in here. Um,
Oh, okay. They're so
there's a
dark. I thought they were black.
yeah, there's a big old Amano right there.
See,
Um,
that guy also help you control your shrimplet population. He'll nibble on them.
the Amano,
Yeah,
really?
yeah,
Huh. I don't think I've ever noticed them eating shrimp because these green jays breed like crazy in here. They're all over. And what else I got in here? I got a school of there's one of them right there. So pygmy cories.
oh,
Um,
okay.
There's a bunch of pygmy cories in here. Eventually, I want to get them kind of their own tank too. There's another one mono creeping back there.
Now you're not none of this. Well, other than the mollies that pretty much breed by themselves, you're not. Oh yeah, and the plecos you're trying to breed in there.
Yep,
These
the
are
plecos. I'm
yeah.
I'm trying to bleed. Everything in here I'm trying to breed besides
Okay,
the Amanos. They,
okay.
I mean, the Amanos when they do get buried, I actually bring them into Tristan. And he'll keep them until they drop their eggs, and he knows that whole
The
brackish
brackish.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he'll actually raise them uh from larva to Amano shrimp. So he's always got Amano shrimp in his shop, which is why I have Amano shrimp in pretty much all my tanks.
Yeah, those guys are still fetching about $8 a piece.
Yeah, yeah. They're nice to have though. They do a lot of work. And then over here is the big 65 gallon that I've had for a long. This tank actually has been set up and running. It's been moved once, but probably going on at least 10 years now. Um, haven't changed anything in it besides, the fish once in a while change depending on what's dying, what's coming, what's being replaced. The plants obviously are always changing, but this is a solid tank. I don't have to worry about this tank at all. I just put food in and that's it. I mean, it's on autopilot. But there's the big mama common bristlenose pleco right there. Got coolie loaches in here. There's all kinds of you can see the big Pictus cat swimming around in that log back there. That's where he lives, back in that log. All kind of Rasporas and rainbows and neon tetras. There's the black mollies. This is where I pull the babies from.
Have any of
Um,
the egg layers been able to re, um, reproduce? Well, not reproduce, but actually have fry come out of this tank, or too many
um,
predators?
the live bearers I have, but yeah, that and then obviously the bristlenose plecos. But yeah, I haven't noticed any Cory eggs. I've got a bunch of green Aeneas, bronze, and Julii Corys in here. I'm sure their eggs get eaten pretty quick. But yeah, I haven't noticed any rain. Yeah, no fry as far as the egg scatterers go. But yeah, up here I've got like this raft of pearlweed. Um, so this is where typically the black molly fry go to hide out, and then I can just either scoop them out with a cup or in that. Then they go in that tank over there. But yeah, I got all kinds of plants coming out the top of this thing. This is probably my favorite here. This Marble Queen pothos. I really like this one. The roots on it, I mean, they're just massive. So yeah, there's a lot going on in this tank. I think last time I did a head count, there was like 55 plus fish in here. Um, so yeah, obviously filtered a lot by the plants. This is a tank where I kind of went ham on the filtration. So I got a sponge running behind this wood thing here. I've got the old marine land that I've had running forever. Those things do
Yeah.
not die. And then underneath because it's so overstocked.
Oh wow.
I've got two Eheim canisters on either side. So yeah, this tank I really really don't have to worry about.
When was the last time you had to crack those canisters open and clean them?
That was not that long ago, maybe a few months ago, but before that, it was probably been like 7, 8 months. I don't do it very often.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I think the longer you let them run, the least I mean, the clearer the water is gonna be.
Mm-hmm. And in here, this is the bedroom. So I got two little shrimp tanks here in the bedroom. This one's got a little group of chili rasboras in here. These
Yeah,
guys
those
are
guys
really
are
fun.
fired up.
Yeah, those guys are a lot of fun. And then this is the blue velvet shrimp colony. There's another mono right there. My rabbit snails. Um, but yeah, I just pulled recently a lot of shrimp out of here. They went to the shop, so it's kind of barren in here as far as shrimp goes. But there's still, I mean, there's a lot of babies everywhere. They're just kind of hard to catch on camera. And then next to it is the Bloody Mary shrimp tank. It's got a
Here,
few.
they got a question for you. They want to know what's your view on stocking amounts, because he's got a nice amount of fish in one tank.
As far
So
as which tank are we talking about, Funk?
I guess in general, most of your fish tanks, do you worry about how many fish are in there, or you just kind of
Not really. I mean, it's as many plants as I've got in there, and as you know, I do monitor the water quality if they're overly heavily stocked tank. Like I said, that big 65 gallon, I've had that up and running for so long that I know I don't have to worry about it and all that overfiltration. So if anything does need to be, I guess, made up for with all that stocking, I can rely on the filtration to kind of help me out there. But everything's pretty much just I rely heavily on plants. The shrimp, I never worry about stocking levels on shrimp just because I mean they'll live right on one on top of each other. I mean it's usually never a big deal. But yeah, I've always been one to heavily stock my tanks. Just it kind of goes back to not having the room. And now I am starting to get uh the more tanks set up, and some of them are obviously going to be little grow outs before they go to the store and whatnot. So, but yeah, no, I've never really had an issue with overstocking a tank to where it's been an issue. If that's what the
yeah, I've
original.
never run into that problem. And if I was gonna have a problem, it would probably been in the pleco breeder tank because they're just dirty in general.
Yeah, yep. How do I flip this? Oh, oh. So yeah.
Let me get this one more. All right. Yeah, no. Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
That way people get an idea of what you got going on in your fish room too. For when you do decide to start doing some of the mail orders.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, wow, Brandon, I want to thank you so much for granting me the opportunity to have you on my live stream and being able to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, I
Um,
appreciate you asking me. I've watched. I think by now I've watched almost every single one of your interviews, and I was kind of curious.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was kind of curious. I was like, you know what? I wonder if he is ever gonna ask me to get out there. And yeah, you did. So I'm happy.
Well, one of the things that I'm really trying to do, and it doesn't mean that I won't do it, but I want to predominantly want to give some of the smaller channels an opportunity to kind of get to know the community, that that there's a group of people out there that enjoy the content that they're trying to
Hmm.
create. So for me, that's one of my goals. Um, but more than anything else, because I can learn about your ability to keep fish by watching your videos. But I'm also
Yeah.
interested because I know I'm more than just fish tanks. There's a lot of other stuff that I like to do, other hobbies that I like to entertain, and
Hmm.
so that I always find that interesting too. And not only that, it just kind of gives you a little bit more understanding of who the person is and why they are the way they are. A lot of the times too.
Yeah.
But other than this, do you have any other things that you like to do? Are you kind of like a handy guy that likes to work on with tools and stuff like that? Or
Yeah, I've kind of been in, the grunt labor since since I was able to work. So 15, I got my first job framing houses. That was during the winter, so it kind of burned me on that. I wasn't a huge fan of, you know, hauling wood in the snow and having to wear gloves. Having to wear gloves and work with your hands is just never a good combination. You lose so much dexterity.
yeah,
So I don't know. It was fun. I learned a lot. From that, I did roof construction for a couple of years. After a couple winters of that, I had had enough of that. Settled down at a factory job, actually a manufacturing plant. We did a lot of cardboard boxes and shipping materials. Um, is mainly what we made. I was there for 12, 13 years. So I started third shift, just driving a forklift, low man on about lowest man on the totem pole you can get, kind of worked my way up to I eventually was the second shift supervisor. So I learned a lot of different things at that factory as far as production goes. Ended up leaving that job because the guy they brought in above me, me and him just didn't jive, and it got to the point where I was bringing that shit home, and I just wasn't happy anymore. So I gave that up. Um, Settled down with a friend of mine, just like a small time home remodeling business. So did home remodeling for a year or so, and then wound up. My wife was pregnant with our smallest, Willow. She worked at a bar called the Care Room. It was a pool hall. So I'm fairly decent at shooting pool too. So
nice.
Yeah, so that used to be a thing I did often, was shooting pool. But no, so when we found out she was pregnant, the plan was that I was gonna kind of take over her shift so she could retain her job. So I worked at the bar for a little bit, cooking food, um, bartending when they needed me, and then I met the current employer where I'm at now, through the bar. He would come in the mornings, and I would cook him food, and we'd talk every day. But he owned a auto repair business, collision, body shop basically. Um, Sounded like something I'd be pretty into. So left the restaurant or the bar. Eventually, my wife did too, which is kind of nice because that was, typically she worked the night shift, so it was kind of hard to, I guess, have that family environment when one's gone at night and one's gone during the day. Uh, but yeah, so now I'm working at the body shop, doing a little bit, auto repairs, detailing cars, mainly painting cars. So
Okay.
that's been a lot of fun. The whole learning how to paint a car is can be very frustrating at times, but I think I've got the hang of it now. So
Are you doing any like intricate custom work, or are you still working on just being able to get a
yeah,
good
just matching factory colors and stuff like
mm.
that. Yeah, I'm not doing anything crazy.
Is it something you'd be interested in doing eventually? Is kind of getting
Oh
more on
yeah,
the artistic side of painting cars?
yeah, maybe. It's a lot of work. I work 10 hours a day, so from 7 to 5:30, and I kind of just, at the end of the day, I just kind of want to go home, play with my fish, play with my kids, and that's all. A lot of that custom work, that's off the clock, kind of after hours or weekends, and man, I don't have the time for it. I mean, I've had so many opportunities to paint people's cars or fix people's cars, do work on the side. And it's just, I always, short of it being like an immediate family member or something like that, I tell them I don't have the time. I mean, the money would be nice, but I mean, honestly, my time I think is more important than the extra little bit of cash I'll be getting from that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the hard, especially with young kids. Is
Mm-hmm.
time again. It's finite. You're not going to get that back. That's the one
Yep.
thing. That's the one resource that none of us are ever going to be able to recuperate. So, ask B if he's interested in painting a Harley.
Yeah. See, they're already coming in. If you
Yeah,
work
that's
on
whips.
cars, if you work on cars, you don't let anybody know you work on cars.
Yeah, yeah. Whether it's mechanical work
Yeah.
or body repair,
Yeah.
you're gonna get a lot of friends all of a sudden asking for the family discount. Yeah. Well, Brandon, is there any other social medias that people can follow you on that you're pretty active on, or that you want to share, or is this
Yeah,
your
if somebody wants to share a link to my Facebook, that's fine. Otherwise, it's right on my profile. If you go to my YouTube, it's right there. I'm on Facebook quite a bit. It's probably the best way to get in contact with me is through Facebook Messenger, but my email's up there too. I do a little bit on Instagram, I guess, but not a whole lot. Uh, it's I think the only reason I even have stuff go to Instagram is from Facebook, so it just posts there automatically. But
yeah?
yeah, other than that, it's pretty much just YouTube and Facebook.
Okay. And also, do you want to plug your show?
Yeah, Outside in Aquatics. Kyle, me and him have a show that we try to do every Saturday night, um, around 7 o'clock Central Time.
Okay.
Well, at 7 Central Time is when we go. But yeah, it's just me and Kyle, and we usually got somebody local to the Chicago, Wisconsin area. Sometimes we deviate from that and bring up, people that aren't local, but our main focus is on, various hobbyists that are kind of up and coming in, I guess, the breeding world or selling world, or if they've got something interesting. Um, we try to keep it educational and learn something. Uh, it's been a lot of fun so far. I thoroughly enjoy it, and that's kind of what got me into being on the camera. Kind of got thrown into that, and the first episode was on me, and that was a little rough. I was pretty green, and uh, going back and watching that one is kind of hard sometimes. But yeah, I feel like I've kind of come out of my shell quite a bit from that first episode. I'm a lot more comfortable being on the camera, and yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
we go live tonight. We don't have a guest. I think it's going to be more of an open panel kind of thing. I know Ed had talked about maybe wanting to come up. Jorge, you're more than welcome to come up tonight if you'd like. But yeah, we're just going to be kind of talking about, I guess, uh, you know, breeding and selling fish, I guess, to support the hobby, to kind of ease some of the financial stress of being in this hobby.
Yeah.
Um, so that'll be our subject for tonight.
Yeah. Whip wanted me to ask you guys if you guys have been able to reach out to Jason from Primetime Aquatics.
I have not. Kyle's actually met Jason. I've never personally met Jason or Joanna, but
Hmm.
Kyle would be the man to get on that. So we
Yeah.
we can talk about that for sure.
Now, one more plug you got to do, man, before you get out of here. I saw that unboxing of the stickers, that hot stickers that are floating around. You don't happen to have them there handy, do you?
What's that?
What do you mean? What's that?
Oh, the fish tank
Yeah.
stickers. Those are
Yeah.
downstairs. I'll go grab them. Hold on.
Now, who's going to fight for those? Are the girls asking, wanting those?
Yeah, I had to hide them.
That's why they're downstairs. Yeah, no, that's kind of one of the cooler things that I've been seeing lately around the hobby is Kyle from Outside In Aquatics um created I to me they're really cool because they're nostalgic to me. I'm of that generation when garbage pail kids were a thing, and there used to be like trading cards and stickers that you could get like in the gum packs, like you used to get baseball trading cards. And when Kyle came up with those and showed them, I was like, dude, because it triggered all that memory from when I was a kid. I didn't think Kyle was old enough to be around when those things were popular, but uh, he definitely had an understanding of them. But I think it's really cool what he's been doing. I'm kind of looking forward to see if he starts doing some of the personalities that people told him, like some of the bigger YouTubers.
Yeah,
I want to. What I'm
that's what
really
I'm
interested
looking
about
forward to.
who's not gonna take a joke. That's what I want to find out.
Yeah.
Because if you can't take a joke, I don't want to hang out with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the personalized cards. I think those are going to be neat. So yeah, this is one that he had actually made for my daughter.
Oh, cool.
He's got one for his daughter too, but Wild Caught Willow. This is the holographic. Um, but yeah, they're really neat. So I've got the non-holographic ones, and then the holographic ones. Um, but yeah, there's all different kinds. Like I said, I got a stack of them. I'm not going to go through every single
Yeah,
one
yeah, yeah.
individually, but yeah, really neat thing to kind of collect. I think it's a really good idea. And it's like here's the Fangers card.
Ah, it's
And
got to be Skip.
yeah, yep. But yeah, so more of those kind of themed cards to come, kind of that tie into individual fish keepers that are in the community, in the hobby that we know, you know. But
Yeah, I just ever since he mentioned that, I was like, man, that is so cool. I mean, I'm surprised nobody had thought about it, especially because stickers are easy to collect. That's the thing.
yeah,
They're so easy to collect, and it's always real easy to support somebody. Like if you're at a swap and they got stickers on there, I'm always known to grab a few stickers and purchase those because you don't need anything to transport them. It's not, you don't have to worry. They just travel well, they ship well.
hmm
But yeah, I wanted you to make sure you plugged your co-host, and
yeah.
I really think it's cool what he's doing.
Kyle's in the chat here. Kyle,
Yeah, I know, I see him.
if you want to share a link to our live stream tonight,
Yeah,
um,
please
that'd be
post it.
great. And then a link to your stickers.
Stephen P. You still sleeping?
Yeah, he does not wake up early, so
Hmm.
I'm told.
Well, they were up pretty late last night, so
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I went to bed fairly early in anticipation for this. I try to be responsible.
I did the opposite. I stood
Yeah.
up. I did well. I normally don't like to drink by myself, but last night my wife was already asleep, so I kind of had a cigar and a drink last night, and I stayed up later than I should have. Now I'm going to pay the price for it in the afternoon. Luckily, it's Saturday, and at work, Saturdays are usually our slow days.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot going on as far as work that I have to do.
hmm
But so, but with that, did they drop the link for that? It looks like he did.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
right, so 7 o'clock Central Time, right?
Yep.
Tonight. Make sure you guys go check these guys out. And again, I'm like I said, for the most part, I'm really looking to try to bring on people that are relatively new, trying to make their way into the community, to kind of give them an opportunity to spotlight them, I guess, to for lack
hmm
of a better term. And but but that doesn't mean that they're necessarily new hobbyists or anything like that. By no means. I mean, you're a prime example of that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us um, have been hobbyists for a long time, but then finally decide, all right, they get a little bit curious about doing the live stream or just being
hmm
on YouTube more than just participating in the chat. Excuse me. So I've been reaching out to a couple of people. I know, especially like smaller channels, sometimes they get a little bit freaked
Yeah.
out because I've maybe I'm a little bit too aggressive in my approach, but I'll leave a comment and say, "Hey, dude, do you want to be on a live stream?" And they'll be like, "Ah, what do you mean? What am I supposed to do?" But yeah, I try to, if I can't find an email on your account, I'll have to find a way to get a hold of you. So sometimes I'll leave a comment in the comment sections of a video or something like that. But you know, I just I just think it's cool that if especially if you're trying to create content, to know that there's a group of people out there that are willing to share that with you. And
Hmm.
also, you know, as much as I like to, yeah, I know I'm real pushy, but that's how I get things done too. Uh, you know, if for some reason, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a channel and you want to be on on one of these, just let me know. Just
Yeah,
send me a message.
I think a good one for you would be to get Ed Moats up here. I think
Yes,
he'd have a lot to talk about.
yes, definitely. Uh, Especially because you know, I saw you talk about his food and stuff like that, so I'm a little bit more
Mhm.
curious. Oh, you know, there's you're always as a breeder, not even a breeder, just as a fish keeper, you're always trying to find what's out there as far as products for your fish, especially when it comes to food. So
Mhm.
that'll be interesting, and I'm sure he's got more to talk about than just food. But
Oh yeah.
but it also would be a great opportunity for him to kind of promote what he's doing. So
Mhm.
definitely. With that being said, I want to thank everybody that was hanging out with us today. Thank you so much, and hopefully next Saturday we'll be here again. It'll be probably an afternoon um, stream or a little bit later, not this early in the morning for the weekend. But I'll catch you guys there, and thank you so much. I
Yeah,
appreciate your
thanks.
guys' constant support. And Bretton, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate that. And
Yeah,
hopefully I'll
thanks.
get to see you guys this afternoon.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for everybody that came out to watch us ramble. It means a lot. I appreciate it. And yeah, it's been fun.
All right, guys. You guys take care. We'll see you sometime during the day.
Later.